At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 300 programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Okay, let's jump right in. You're about to get, well, a real shortcut to understanding something huge: AI-generated content.
Right. Forget wading through tons of articles.
Exactly. We're talking about how AI isn't just analyzing stuff anymore. It's making things text, images, music, even code. It's kind of wild.
And we know you want to get up to speed quickly, but, properly understand it too. So this deep dive is perfect. We're basically pulling out the most important bits about AI creation without the jargon overload.
Yeah, we've gone through a whole load of material on this where AI content is now, where it's heading.
The goal is simple.
Give you the core knowledge you need to, well, make sense of this whole field as it keeps changing so fast.
Think of it as your fast track. So first we'll look at the basics, like how AI even does this generating stuff.
The principles behind it.
Yeah, the fundamentals. Then we'll get into the really cool part, all the different ways it's being used, transforming, creative work and more.
Okay, let's unpack that first bit then. This shift from AI analyzing to AI creating. That's the big leap, isn't it?
It really is. Producing genuinely new content, text, images, music, code. It fundamentally changes what we think machines can do.
So how does it actually work? What's under the hood?
Well, at its heart, it's about machine learning. Algorithms basically learn patterns from tons of data.
Okay.
And these patterns get processed by neural networks. It's kind of the AI's way of structuring information, finding connections, a bit like how our brains work, loosely speaking.
Right, I've heard that analogy. And deep learning fits in here, too. That gives the neural networks a boost.
Exactly. Deep learning uses these neural networks with many, many layers. That's what lets them handle the really complex, subtle patterns needed for, say, creative tasks.
Ah, okay. So deeper layers, more complexity?
Precisely. It allows the AI to spot these tiny relationships in really complicated data. Now, within generative AI, there isn't just one kind of tool. There are different types of models.
Right, families of models.
Each with its own strengths.
Like LLMs, large language models. Everyone's talking about GPT-3, GPT-4, and the open source ones, too.
Yep. Those are the ones generating incredibly human-like text. They can translate, write poems, answer questions. It's pretty amazing stuff.
It really is. A total step change in how machines deal with language.
Definitely. Their grasp of language is remarkable. Then you have diffusion models.
Ah, the image generators.
Yeah.
Daily 2, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion.
Those are the ones. You give them a text description, a prompt, and boom, they create these often photorealistic or really artistic images.
Still blows my mind every time I see it. And, okay, you also mentioned GANs. Generative Adversarial Networks. Sounds a bit intense.
It is a pretty clever idea, actually. You basically have two AI systems working against each other.
Okay.
One's the generator. It tries to make realistic stuff, like images or maybe music. The other is the discriminator. Its job is to spot the fakes created by the generator.
So they're competing.
Exactly. And this constant competition forces the generator to get better and better at making realistic outputs. It works for images, video, even music.
Wow, okay, so it's like this internal battle driving improvement. Cool. You also brought up transformer networks, key for the LLMs, you said. What's their special sauce for language?
Their big advantage is understanding context, and importantly, long-range connections in text or data.
Meaning?
Well, unlike older models, transformers can figure out which parts of the input text are most important for understanding the meaning of other parts, even if they're far apart in the sentence or paragraph. That's crucial for, getting the nuances of language right and writing coherent stuff.
Gotcha. Context is king. And before transformers dominated the scene, there were RNNs and LSTMs. Are they still around?
Oh, absolutely. Transformers are great for text, but recurrent neural networks, RNNs, and especially LSTMs, long short-term memory networks, were really foundational for generating sequences.
Like music?
Like music, yeah, or analyzing data that changes over time. So they definitely still have their place.
Okay, so we have these powerful model types. But the big question is, how do they learn to create? Where does this algorithmic creativity actually spring from?
Right. It all comes down to data, massive, massive amounts of it.
Right.
These models get trained on enormous data sets, huge collections of text, images, audio files, lines of code, you name it.
And the process?
It involves a few key steps. First, you've got data acquisition and pre-processing, basically collecting all that raw data and then cleaning it up, organizing it so the AI can learn from it effectively.
The essential prep work. You can't build on messy foundations.
Precisely. Then comes the pattern recognition phase. The AI dives into this prepared data and starts identifying statistical relationships, structures, recurring themes, essentially learning the underlying rules of whatever content it's looking at.
So it learns grammar from text or visual styles from images, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And once it's grasped those patterns, that's when the generation can happen. The AI uses its learned understanding of those patterns and structures to produce something new, usually based on a prompt or some internal trigger. It's not just cutting and pasting, it's applying the rules it learned.
But presumably the first drafts aren't always winners. Needs refinement.
Oh, definitely. That's where techniques like fine-tuning and reinforcement learning come in. They help polish the output.
How do they work?
Well, fine-tuning involves training the pre-trained model a bit more, but on a smaller, more specific data set to tailor its output for a particular task or style.
Okay.
And reinforcement learning, often with human feedback, RLHF gives the AI feedback on its generations. Good outputs get rewarded, bad ones get penalized, so it learns what humans prefer.
Right. Guiding it towards better results. Which brings up a really fascinating point. Is this real creativity? Or is the AI just like a super sophisticated remix machine?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's a lot of debate.
I bet.
One view is definitely that AI is essentially recombining elements it learned during training, taking bits and pieces from its vast database of examples and sticking them together in novel ways.
Like a collage artist, maybe? Using existing materials to make something new.
That's a decent analogy, but then there's this idea of emergent properties.
Meaning?
That complex, genuinely novel outputs can sometimes arise from the interaction of simpler, learned patterns, like how complex life forms emerge from basic biological rules. Maybe something truly unexpected can pop out.
Interesting. So potentially more than just remixing. And what about the human role here? The prompt seems so important.
Absolutely critical. The human prompt engineer guides the AI's direction. It's the starting point, the brief. The better, the more nuanced the prompt, generally the more interesting and targeted the output.
So it's a collaboration in a way.
Very much so, in many cases.
It definitely feels like we've moved past the stage where AI art or text was just a quirky experiment. Now it seems useful.
That's been a huge shift, yes. Early AI creations were often interesting novelties, demonstrations of possibility.
Right.
But the sheer power and refinement of today's models, the LLMs, the diffusion models, have made them genuinely practical tools.
And you see businesses, individuals, actually integrating them into how they work, not just for fun anymore.
Exactly. They're becoming part of the workflow in many fields. And crucially, they're getting easier to use.
Democratization, right?
Yeah. You don't need a PhD in machine learning to use many of these tools now. Web interfaces, apps, they're putting serious AI power into many more hands.
Okay, so that covers the how. We get the models, the learning process. Now for the exciting bit.
Yeah.
What are people actually doing with this? Where is this algorithmic creativity showing up?
Oh, the applications are exploding. It's incredibly broad. Let's maybe start with the written word, text generation.
Yeah, that seems massive. Content creation must be a big one. Using AI for blog posts, articles, marketing copy, even writing fiction.
Absolutely. It can act like a writing partner, generating drafts, suggesting ideas, saves a lot of time for many people.
And not just creating from scratch, right? Summarizing things.
Yes. Summarization and paraphrasing are really useful applications. Taking long reports and boiling them down, or rephrasing text for different audiences. Huge efficiency gain.
And chatbots.
Yeah.
They're everywhere now, and honestly getting much better. Less robotic.
Definitely. Conversational AI, powered by sophisticated LLMs, is making interactions for customer service, virtual assistants, much more natural and genuinely helpful.
Plus translation. Breaking down language barriers seems more achievable than ever.
The quality and speed of AI translation are improving dramatically. It's a huge enabler for global communication and business.
And then there's personalization. Tailoring text for individuals.
Precisely. Think about news feeds that adapt to your interests or educational materials that adjust to your learning speed. AI allows for content tailored right down to the individual user.
Yeah.
Immense potential there.
Okay, shifting gears to visuals. AI art is just, wow.
It really is. Creating unique images, artistic styles, just from a text description, it's opened up visual creation to so many people.
But it's not just for art, is it? Design, too.
Right. It's being used in design and prototyping, generating quick concepts for products, buildings, logos, letting designers explore ideas much faster.
And what about, like, special effects or visualizing data?
Yeah, AI can streamline creating complex visual effects for film or games, and it can generate really insightful charts and visualizations from complex data sets, helping us see patterns we might miss.
Makes sense. And like with text, personalized visuals, tailored images or videos.
That's emerging too. Imagine ads with visuals tailored to your preferences, or video summaries generated just for you.
Wild. Okay, let's talk music. AI as a composer. Can it really create, good music?
It's getting remarkably good. AI can compose original melodies, harmonies, full tracks across different genres. It might not always capture the deep emotion of a human master yet, but the technical proficiency is impressive and growing.
Is it replacing musicians or helping them?
Mostly helping, I'd say. It's often framed as a tool for inspiration, for breaking creative blocks, for experimenting with new sounds or structures. A collaborator, okay. Yeah.
And adaptive music. Music that changes based on what you're doing.
Yeah. Imagine game soundtracks that react perfectly to the action, or focus music that adjusts to your concentration levels. Personalized, dynamic soundscapes.
That sounds pretty cool.
Huh?
Okay, coding. This one might surprise some people. AI writing code.
Absolutely. Tools like GitHub Copilot and others can suggest lines or entire blocks of code as you type. It can speed up development significantly.
Make coding easier for beginners too, maybe.
Potentially, yes. And it's not just writing new code. AI is also being used for debugging, finding errors in existing code.
Oh, that's huge. Debugging can take forever.
It really can. AI can spot patterns that suggest bugs, sometimes much faster than a human can. And also automated testing generating test cases to make sure software works correctly.
So improving productivity and quality across the board for developers.
That's the idea.
It really feels like the impact is way broader than just, art and text. You mentioned some other areas. Drug discovery. Really?
Yes, it's a very exciting area. AI can analyze massive biological data sets and even generate potential molecular structures for new drugs or materials. It could massively speed up research and development.
Wow. Okay. And fashion. AI designers.
It's starting to happen. AI assisting with creating new styles, predicting trends, even generating patterns for fabrics, offering designers new tools.
What about science itself? Can AI do research?
It can certainly assist. By analyzing complex data from experiments, AI might identify unexpected correlations or even generate plausible hypotheses for scientists to then test.
So not just analyzing data, but suggesting new research directions. Incredible.
It has that potential.
And finally, gaming. We touched on adaptive music, but what else?
Creating more dynamic and believable game worlds. Think non-player characters, NPCs with more realistic behavior and dialogue, or environments that change procedurally based on player actions, making games feel more alive and responsive.
Okay, the sheer range of applications is just staggering. It really paints this picture of AI becoming embedded in almost everything creative and analytical, too.
It truly does. From writing emails to discovering medicines to designing clothes, the impact is becoming pervasive.
So just to recap where we are, we've looked at how this AI actually generates content, the models, the data, the learning process, and we've explored this incredible array of applications, from art and music to science and code.
Right. It highlights this massive creative power AI now possesses and how it's actively changing industries, creating new possibilities.
But it's not all smooth sailing, is it? This power brings up some really complex questions, some tricky ethical issues.
Absolutely. That's a crucial part of the picture. We have to talk about the ethical labyrinth that comes with AI-generated content.
Okay, where do we start? Maybe with the most obvious one. Who owns this stuff? If an AI creates an image or writes a story, who's the author?
Exactly. Is it the person who wrote the prompt? The company that built the AI model? The AI itself? Our current laws, especially copyright law, weren't really designed for this.
Right. Copyright usually protects human authors. So how does that work now?
It's murky. There have been legal challenges. Rulings are inconsistent across different places. The U.S. Copyright Office, for example, has generally said purely AI-generated work without significant human authorship isn't copyrightable by humans. But the lines are blurry. What counts as significant human authorship?
Just writing the prompt? Probably not enough. Editing the output? maybe. Sounds like a legal headache.
It is, and it has huge implications for creative industries. If AI can generate content that's difficult to copyright, what does that mean for artists, writers, musicians who rely on copyright for their livelihood?
Yeah, potential disruption is massive. Okay, another big one. Bias. We know AI learns from data. What if the data is biased?
Then the AI output will likely reflect or even amplify those biases. This is a major concern. If training data underrepresents certain groups or contains historical biases,
Then the AI might generate stereotypical or discriminatory content, like biased hiring recommendations or stereotypical images.
precisely, it can create outputs that reinforce harmful stereotypes about race, gender, or other characteristics. It's a serious problem rooted in the data we feed these systems.
So what's being done about it? Can you mitigate this bias?
There's a lot of research going into it. Things like carefully curating data sets, developing algorithms to detect and reduce bias during training, and adding fairness constraints. But it's complex. There's no easy fix. It requires ongoing vigilance.
Definitely sounds like a critical area. Okay, moving on to something maybe even more alarming. Misinformation and deepfakes.
Yes. The same technology that creates amazing art can also be used to generate fake news articles, propaganda, or incredibly realistic fake videos or audio recordings, deepfakes.
Which could make it almost impossible to tell what's real online.
That's the fear. If you can create convincing fake videos of politicians saying things they never said, or generate floods of fake news stories that look legitimate, it severely erodes public trust and makes informed public discourse incredibly difficult.
How do we fight that? Can we detect this stuff?
There's an ongoing arms race there, too. Researchers are developing tools to detect AI-generated text and deepfakes, looking for subtle digital fingerprints. But the generators are constantly improving, too, making detection harder. It requires technical solutions, media literacy education, platform policies, a multi-pronged approach.
Feels like a really fundamental challenge to how we get information. Finally, what about the impact on us on human creativity itself?
Another huge question with different angles. On one hand, AI can be an amazing tool for human creators.
Right, like we discussed, inspiration, assistance, overcoming blocks, collaboration.
Exactly, it can augment human creativity, allowing us to do things we couldn't before, or do them faster.
But the flip side, job displacement. If AI can write articles or create illustrations, what happens to human writers and illustrators?
That's a real concern for many. Automation of tasks previously done by humans? Will it displace jobs, or will it shift roles, creating new kinds of creative work focused on prompting, editing, and curating AI output?
Probably a bit of both.
Most likely. The nature of creative work might change significantly. Some tasks will be automated, but new skills related to working with AI will likely become more valuable. It's an ongoing transition, and one we need to manage carefully.
Wow. Okay, so a lot to grapple with on the ethical front: ownership, bias, misinformation, the future of creative work itself.
Definitely. It's not just about the cool tech, it's about navigating these complex societal impacts responsibly.
So wrapping this deep dive up, we see the incredible, almost science fiction-like creative power AI now wields.
Yeah, generating text, images, music, code in ways that were unthinkable just a few years ago.
And its applications are spreading everywhere, really changing how industries operate and how we interact with information and media.
Absolutely. From art studios to labs to coding terminals.
But alongside that potential comes this whole host of serious ethical challenges. We absolutely need to address the ownership, the bias, the potential for misuse, the impact on human roles.
It's a double-edged sword. Incredible potential, but it demands really careful, thoughtful consideration and governance.
It really leaves you with a big question, doesn't it? As these AI capabilities just keep getting better and better, what does it actually mean to be human, to be creative, in a world where we're increasingly working alongside or even competing with artificial intelligence?
What's the future role for purely human ingenuity when algorithms can create so much? That's something we'll all be figuring out.
Definitely something to keep thinking about. This has been a fascinating look under the hood of AI-generated content.
Indeed. And hopefully this gives you a solid foundation to follow where this incredible technology goes next. Keep exploring.